Welcome to this week's edition of Confessions of a Fitness Professional. I'm your Fit Pro, Andra Anderson, and I'm going to tell you about the time that we were emergency evacuated from a cave tour. All right, let me back this up a little bit. So, fun fact about me, my husband and I love to visit national parks, and currently in 2023, there are 63 designated national parks across the United States, and it is our goal to visit all of them. We just completed number 27. Is that right? 27. I think 27. So we visited South Dakota, and there are 2 national parks in South Dakota. Badlands is probably the most well-known of the national parks in South Dakota, and then there's also Wind Cave. Now let me tell you a little thing about caves. For whatever reason, we have visited a ton of them, and there are several in the national park system, and we still have a few more to go. We like to schedule cave tours, and we like to schedule in advance. So if you've never met me or my husband, we are planners. We like to have an itinerary. It's sort of a joke, and maybe if you've come to my classes, you could probably understand this, but it's sort of a joke to the point where if my sister comes to visit for a weekend, I will give her an itinerary of all of the things we're planning to do for that day, for the weekend, all of those things. And the reason we like to have an outline or an itinerary is because we want to be able to see everything that we'd like. We want to capture as many moments that we can while we're in these amazing, beautiful places. And for the most part, we visit somewhere one time. For whatever reason, we have been to Key West like 4 times, just as a result of it was the hub for this national park, the hub for this cruise, whatever it is. But generally, we do not revisit places. So we want to maximize our time whenever we get there. And I'm going to let you know how this is related to fitness in a moment, but follow me a little bit here. Okay, so we've been on several cave tours. We know that we've learned that the earlier the cave tour is in the day, the less likely we are to be on tours with small children. It's just a fact. We've had a tour or 2 ruined by small children. I'm not saying anything about families that take small children into caves. I think it's awesome. It is definitely not something my family would have done with me growing up. We did not do cool stuff like that. I think it's great to experience national parks and beauties like that with your family. I think that's awesome. But children in caves just doesn't ever really go well. And adults in caves doesn't always go well, and I'll tell you why. So we have learned from our several cave tours, the earliest cave tour possible is the one that we're going to book. The one that has more stairs or steps is probably the one we're going to book. We don't really do much longer than like a 2-hour tour in a cave. Mammoth Cave was a totally different environment because that thing, as said by its name, is ginormous. It is the longest systems of caves, I think actually, in the world. So we spend a lot of time. We did a couple of cave tours there, but we only wanted to do one at Wind Cave National Park. And we wanted to book early, again, to avoid families with small children. But we also wanted to have the opportunity to do some above ground hiking and exploration at Wind Cave. So we just figured, let's do the first tour of the day. Boom, get it done. We'll have the rest of the day to explore, have a picnic, all of those good things. Now, again, we're planners, so we went onto the recreation.gov or is it recreation.org site to purchase our tickets in advance. Anytime we can purchase a ticket in advance, we do that because we always travel during really heightened travel times like 4th of July, holidays, and there's just so many people going to the places that we like to go. That was not necessarily the case in South Dakota. I didn't feel like it was an overwhelming amount of people anywhere that we went, so we chose a good one for this trip. But we just like to have the reassurance of, okay, we have a ticket, we have a parking spot, we are good, we are ready to go. And that's one of the other reasons we like to do the early morning tours, is because we want to get to the place and have a spot to park in. This happened, one of the places that we went was Devil's Tower, which is in actually Wyoming, but you're so close to it through Rapid City or a trip to Badlands or Mount Rushmore that you really want to add it. It's this amazing spot. There are 20 different Native American tribes that find it this birthplace of like wisdom, and there are so many different tribal stories related to this space. It's an amazing feat, and it's this very tall structure that looks like it has fingernail like scrapings all down the side, and people climb it. Very, very cool. But we got there early to Devil's Tower, and on our way out, we spent maybe an hour and a half there. There was a line of cars like so long. I mean, it was a very small parking lot. You had to get there before 10 o'clock. And if you didn't, you were gonna be waiting in line for hours. And we just don't wanna do that. We wanna try our best not to wait in a car line. Bottom line, we like to get places early. That's just who we are as people. All right, back to Wind Cave National Park. We booked our tour. We did the natural entrance tour, which is the most popular tour. It had several times it was happening throughout the day. You got a good history of the caves. You got to go pretty far into the caves, and it had something like, I don't know, several hundred steps that you would be going down. So you go down steps, you'd be in this location. You go down steps, you'd be in another location. You would go down so many steps that the way back up was via elevator. They didn't want you climbing back up the stairs. They wanted you to go down the stairs. It's easier to go down a stair than it is to climb up a stair. So we went down and then would take the elevator up. We had our tickets. We knew we were gonna go get there early. We were staying in Rapid City, so we knew we had about an hour drive to get there, which is really not that bad in South Dakota because you can go like 80 miles an hour on the roads. Terrifying, but lots and lots of open space there. So we get there we get to South Dakota, and my husband's like, have you been looking at the National Park Service website? And I was like, no, we did all that because we booked it. We had our tickets, our itinerary done. He was like, well, they've been saying on the National Park Service website that their tours for the afternoon had been canceled several days in a row since like the middle of June. So we might just want to keep an eye on it. And I was like, I'm sure it'll be fine. They had to do some service on the elevator. I'm sure it will be fine. It'll be all, I mean, we were coming for July 4th weekend, which is like a huge travel weekend. Of course it would be okay. But still, we kept checking, and I checked their Instagram page. He checked their Park Services website, and it seemed all good to go for the day that we were there. Very loud plane going overhead right now. Everything seemed good. So we went, we got there. There were several people in line when we arrived, like before the ticket office opened, and the start of the tour was, you had to be there like 30 minutes in advance. So we waited in this line even though we had tickets, and then they opened the visitor center. We got to go in, and we got to exchange our online registration for a little yellow card that indicated that we were on the tour. And we had a few minutes to spare, so we went and looked at the gift shop. We always like to get little trinkets wherever we go. We usually do a postcard for my husband's aunt, and then we'll also do a magnet everywhere we go. And I like to get a poster that I display in my classroom, and I think it's really fun. So I have a poster that like lines the whole top of the classroom. It's super cool. So we do all those things, and then we go to the space where the tour is happening. The tour guide comes. He was fantastic, by the way. He was amazing. His name was Jacob. Awesome guide. He was like a summer college intern studying geology and all those fun things. And he knew a lot about national parks. So we played this fun little like game beforehand. I think he was stalling a little bit to see if he had any news about the elevator. We start the tour, and then we go into the room right before the big door opens to go down into the cave. And he was like, all right, hold on, let me call headquarters. He makes a phone call. Are we good to go? Or like basically, are we gonna be able to get out of here if we go in here? Gets the all clear. Awesome. We go on our little tour. We're going down so many stairs. Down, 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 down. Our tour group is fairly big too. We probably had 25, maybe it was 20, 25. No small children, some kids, but no small children. Lots of adults, lots of pairs of people, and varying ages and I would say levels of fitness and enthusiasm. Everybody there wanted to learn about the caves though. So we're going down, 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 down. And then at one point, another park ranger wearing a helmet, full gear, having a flashlight, comes running down the stairs and says, "Okay, make way," and goes running across. So we're like, everybody caught that he had a helmet on, right? What's happening? That was a little freaky. Like we were just having our happy little tour. Jacob was answering our questions, going on our little merry way, and then we had to make room in this small cave area, like move off to one side for this other ranger to go running. And then there was like a little like blink of light 3 times, and I guess that's like secret cave code for the park rangers to go find the nearest phone and call headquarters. So that's what Jacob did. He said, "All right, just gonna go have a conversation. I'll be right back." And we're all like, what is happening? So he goes off and does that, and then a few minutes later comes back and says, "Okay, we're gonna hold in place. We cannot go farther." We had covered about 80% of the tour, so we were pretty much like almost to that elevator. But he was like, "We cannot go any farther. We cannot go back. We have to stay right here." So we're all in our heads formulating like, is the cave entrance blocked? Is there something wrong with the elevator? What is going on? And then maybe like 10 minutes later, the park ranger that had run through us with the helmet on, I keep mentioning the helmet because that was probably the scariest part of it, where like he had a helmet. None of the rest of us had a helmet. Why did he have a helmet? I think I have an idea. I'll get there. So he comes back and he says, Ranger Jacob's last name. I cannot remember his last name. I just knew his first name. Can you come talk to me for a second? So they go off and talk. Ranger Jacob comes back and is like, "Okay, I can give you a little information. Here's the situation. We had 2 tour groups. You all were the first natural entrance tour group to come through the way that we did. There was another tour group that was going from the other side, and they were going down the elevator to go through their little tour area because they were viewing a different part of the cave. A group got stuck on the elevator." No, fact. They did not get stuck in the elevator. One group went down the elevator and they got stuck inside the cave. So the rest of their group was up on land outside the elevator, and they were stuck. The elevator would not go. So the ranger with their group was up with the rest of the group. They were going to be the last one to go down because they had to operate the elevator. So the ranger that was running through was going to that small group of people who were in this cave without a ranger and without a way of like, where do I go? What do I do? I mean, it's kind of straightforward once you get into the cave there's a cement path, right? And it's lit. I don't know how much of it was lit. The parts that we were on were lit. But there's this group of people that were like, no way, their tour was not going to be able to happen. They were without the ranger. They were without the rest of their group. The elevator did not work. They had to go up. I think on that tour, they would go down, tour around, and go back up the elevator. So they go down and up the same way. They wouldn't go down on the stairs. And mind you, this was hundreds of stairs. Some of them really short, some of them really steep. The National Park Service did not want us going back up these stairs, but that was going to be the only way out. So all of this is happening, and then Ranger Jacob gets the 3 little lights again and is like, "Okay, I have to go call again." And he finds out that another ranger is going to come down and provide water and candy for anybody that has low blood sugar. Mind you, we were supposed to be about an hour on this tour, so if anybody needed water or if they needed candy because of their blood sugar or if they needed to use the restroom, like they were out of luck, we were going to be in there for much longer than an hour. But we had to still hold tight. We were not allowed to move. We had to wait for emergency personnel to tell us where we could go. I think what they wanted to do was to check the stairs because, again, in a cave, it's chilly and there's a little bit of condensation. So it's like a slippery surface. Even going down the stairs and walking along the guided areas on the cement, it was slippery and I had my hiking boots on. So imagine going up the stairs. So I think what they needed to do was check to make sure that we could safely walk up the stairs. And we were with a big group of people, varying ages and varying athletic ability. So going upstairs might seem like no big deal to many people, but to some people, that was like a deal breaker. They could not do it. And there were a couple of people that could not do it, and they actually got separated from our group. It was like maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. We got there, okay, we could start walking back up those hundreds of stairs. Let me tell you, I have never been so appreciative to be in good health in my entire life, except for that moment. Like, I feel like everything that I had been doing all my life was to prepare for those hundreds of stairs walking up. You know how sometimes you walk up like a short flight of stairs and you're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I mean, imagine hundreds of those in a cave that were not meant to, I mean, I know stairs are, you're meant to go down and back up, but these stairs were like not meant to walk back up. And we were with a group. So we had, you were close to the person behind you. You had to go at the level of the lowest athletic ability, basically. We had to stop several times. The ranger had to make sure everybody was okay. There were a couple of people who were not okay, and they had to sit, and another ranger had to sit with them. Like, I can't even imagine, and I feel so much for these people because they were not told they had to walk upstairs, got that. The National Park Service is at a liability, right? They want to make sure that people get in and out of that cave safely. Like, we're not leaving anybody behind. And you have to go at the pace that makes the most sense for everybody. So we made it out, like, no problem, whatever. Going up those stairs was, it was actually kind of neat to be able to see a side of the tour that, like, most people don't get to see. I feel like we saw a little more bang for our buck. But it was not an easy feat for every single member on that tour, nor was it something that they were expecting to have to do. And I just appreciate having a level of health and fitness that allows me to prepare for those unknowns. And that's basically like my thought with sharing this on the podcast and in this video is like, you might be entering your fitness with the idea of like making a body composition change, or maybe you need to be more heart healthy or add cardio for whatever reason. But like, we're training for the unexpected. That was unexpected, but never was there a moment that like crossed my mind of like, I will not be able to get out of this cave. I mean, thank goodness also that like I'm not claustrophobic, that I didn't have a fear of like what's going on. There were a couple of individuals who like minorly freaked out because they were like, I got to get out of this cave. Like, I can't be stuck here. I cannot be stuck here. And like, they couldn't control that. That's just a reaction that happened. I'm just so grateful to have been able to prepare for the unexpected moments, like getting stuck in a cave and having to be emergency evacuated. What a wild tour. And my husband and I were looking at each other like, we've got a few more caves left to go. Maybe we take a little pause on the caves for a moment. Like, again, I never felt like I was in danger. The guy running through with the helmet on was a little scary. But my theory is he had the helmet so that he could move really fast, because there are spots where you have to duck, you have to like turn a little. There was a place called like Rose's Misery where it's really tight and really narrow, and if you're tall, like you're gonna hit your head. I didn't have to duck once because I'm pretty short. Majority of the people on that tour had to duck to not hit their head. So maybe the person was wearing the helmet so that they could go fast without fear of hitting their head and, wiping themselves out. So that ranger did get to that other group, and I guess they got out. I don't know. There was never anything on the website. I assume that they did. But I definitely feel for those people who were not expecting to walk up those stairs and were just unable to do it with the group. So preparing ourselves with fitness and health for the unexpected, like getting stuck in a cave. There we go. That is our confession this week. Still love national parks, and that's like a fun story to have. I know it wasn't fun for everybody, but I'm again just so grateful for good health and good sense of humor. Probably won't go to a cave for a second though. Probably gonna take a little pause on the cave tours just for a moment, but I'm sure we'll forget all about it and go to the next one. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you for next week's confession, and until then, be well and continue to prepare for the unexpected.